tonight. The ballots are being printed and residents are getting ready to vote as the one-week countdown begins to Vote Week in Saskatchewan. Ahead of the leaders' debate, we check in with some young local experts to learn about the art of debate and how to win. Plus, look up. A rare comet is passing by Earth over the next few weeks.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Tuesday, October the 15th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. 1 week from today, voting week in Saskatchewan will begin. Saturday at 2:00 p.m. was the deadline for nominations. 243 people have put their name forward to be elected across the 61 constituencies. And once all those names were verified by Election Saskatchewan, ballots could start being printed. 6 printers between Regina and Saskatoon will all do all that printing, and it's a lot of ballots, nearly 1 million in all. One ballot is printed for every registered voter, plus 20% more for those who register at the polls. There will be 5 days of advance voting before Election Day. Polls officially close at 8 p.m. on Monday, October 28th. Now, when voting begins, you'll notice some constituency maps have changed. Adam Hunter takes a closer look at what to watch for in Regina and Saskatoon.
The 61 seats in the Saskatchewan Legislative Assembly will be filled later this month. 4 years ago, the Saskatchewan Party won 48 of those seats, but polls are suggesting a closer race this time around. Both Saskatchewan Party leader Scott Moe and NDP leader Carla Beck are providing some hints as to where they think the battlegrounds are. Both leaders have spent the majority of their time in Saskatoon, Regina, and also Prince Albert.
If Scott Moe is spending a lot of time in the suburbs in Saskatoon and Regina, that may be an indication that the Sask Party sees those places as competitive. So I think this matters. At the same time, this is only one piece of evidence. So you don't want to just be relying on where the leaders go to try to determine what's competitive and where parties think that they need to spend more time.
Westlake says regional polling data and where the campaigns are using their resources are also indicators of ridings that may be close. Both leaders launched their platforms in Saskatoon recently. One seat that has changed dramatically in Saskatoon is Stonebridge. Redistribution has shrunk it by 90%. It was considered a safe Sask Party seat, but that might no longer be the case. It's moved from a suburban-rural split to more of an urban seat encompassing inside of Saskatoon. In Regina, Mount Royal replaces Regina Rosemont. That seat has been comfortable for the NDP for nearly 40 years, but that riding has grown in size, making it potentially a tighter race.
In the two big cities, probably what will be of most interest is whether the Sask Party can hold on to those suburban/rural seats on the outer edges of the cities.
Staying in Regina, Pasqua has been one of the tightest races over the last 2 elections, and redistribution has shrunk it by 1/3. In Saskatoon, Riversdale was the slimmest margin of victory for either party 4 years ago, with the Sask Party upending the NDP by 81 votes. That seat was held by the NDP previously for more than 40 years. Adam Hunter, CBC News, Regina.
Now, all that said, the NDP campaigned all over Saskatchewan today. In Regina, though, party leader Carla Beck was in the city laying out her plan to fix the healthcare system. She promised, if elected, to listen to cut staff turnover by half and to hire 800 more healthcare workers to ease wait times. But asked about the song lyrics by an Estevan NDP candidate, the Sask Party is calling misogynistic. Beck said she wasn't aware of the details, but that there were more important issues at hand.
We have an emergency room in Saskatoon that's 3 times over capacity. We have more healthcare workers leaving the province than any other province. We have people who aren't getting the care that they need. I think it's about time we had a government that actually focused on the things that matter to Saskatchewan people and had a plan to fix it. You know, song lyrics, I don't know.
The Saskatchewan Party has said it will continue its plan to hire and retain healthcare workers if re-elected, but the NDP says stagnant budgets under that party caused the crisis in the first place. The Saskatchewan Party released its platform with $1.2 billion in promises over the long weekend in Saskatoon. It projects deficits for the first 3 years, followed by a small surplus in 2027. It included many pre-announced commitments with promises to maintain investments in healthcare and education and plans to build new schools and hire more healthcare workers.
It's a plan for keeping life affordable for Saskatchewan families. It's a plan for building Saskatchewan, and it's a plan for our growing province. And our plan for investing into those very dividends of growth into healthcare, into education, and into so many services that are important to you and your family wherever you live. But it's also a summary of our record.
Scott Moe says he's running on the record of the Sask Party, which has been in government since 2007. NDP leader Carla Beck has said Moe's economic and fiscal performance as premier has been dismal. She released her party's full platform on Friday, and her plan also shows deficits in the first 3 years, followed by a small surplus in the fourth year. With less than 2 weeks till Election Day, people are getting ready to vote, but one group says they're being left out. People living in some retirement residences say they are losing their in-house polling stations, making it tougher for them to cast a ballot. Colleen Silverthorne has more.
I never missed an election. That's a democratic privilege.
Jean Thomas is excited to cast her vote in the upcoming provincial election. But at 102 years old and confined to a wheelchair, it's hard for her to get around. She was expecting to vote at an in-house polling station at the College Park residence in Regina where she lives. But it won't have a polling station this time around. People living there have to find other ways to cast their ballot.
It's disappointment that's voiced by all the residents here, wondering what they're going to do and worrying that they may lose their vote.
Thomas plans to book a wheelchair-accessible taxi to take her to vote come Election Day. But she says not everyone can do that, and she doesn't want to mail in her ballot.
I just feel more comfortable doing it personally. There are a lot of things that can go wrong with the mailing the ballot in. And when I put it in the box myself, I know it's there.
Elections Saskatchewan has scaled back the number of polling stations in some places. But Michael Boda, Elections Saskatchewan's chief electoral officer, says there are options to make sure everyone can cast a ballot. More than 360 nursing homes across Saskatchewan have registered to have in-house polling stations. And seniors who live in other facilities, like Jean Thomas, can vote by mail or apply for homebound voting. That's when an electoral officer brings a ballot to them.
Anyone who has a physical disability and can't leave their home, we have homebound voting for them. They should call their local returning office. They can call our 1-800 number, and we'll work that through with them because no one should be without a ballot on Election Day.
Anyone wanting to use the homebound voting option must submit their application to the returning officer 9 days before election time. Colleen Silverthorne, CBC News, Regina.
And before voting day on October 28th, we hope you will join us for the leaders' debate tomorrow night. Yes, already. Carla Beck will face off against Scott Moe. You can watch it live here on CBC at 6:05 p.m., followed by live analysis on our website and YouTube channel. Back here at home, accidental drug overdoses are killing about one person each day in our province, and that's according to new data from the Saskatchewan Coroner's Service. At least 146 people died of an overdose in the first 9 months of the year. 128 more are suspected and still being investigated. The numbers actually show a significant drop from this time last year, but some on the front line say despite the encouraging news, it's not clear why deaths have declined.
Last year we had quite an uprising in xylazine or tranquilizer being inside a lot of the fentanyl going around. And I haven't seen as much of it this year, or not like as much or as high of a percent rate in some of the samples that we've been seeing through the FTIR, but that could be a major reason why they're going down.
Regina has seen the most overdose deaths with 58 so far this year. 47 people have died in Saskatoon. Most deaths are among people between 30 and 59 years old, and more than half of those who've died are First Nations or Métis.
All we can definitively say is if they do, it'll be right here at Mosaic Stadium.
Well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders know they are hosting a playoff game. It is thanks to a decisive win, 39-8 over the BC Lions on Saturday. The only question now is, who are they hosting? That depends on the final week of the regular season. If the Riders win their regular season finale and Winnipeg loses theirs, the Riders will be first in the division, the West Division, that is. That said, playoff tickets already on sale. The game will be played the first or second Saturday in November. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. Canada's annual inflation rate dropped by more than expected last month to 1.6%. It's a big drop in the price of gasoline that pushed down the inflation rate in September. Other than gas, inflation remained at 2.2%. Because inflation dropped overall, forecasters now say the Bank of Canada could reduce its key interest rate by 50 basis points next week. That's half a percentage point. The last three cuts by the Bank of Canada were 25 basis points each. Commercial banks in Canada often follow the lead of the central bank when determining lending rates. The Leaders' Debate is set for 24 hours from right now here on CBC Saskatchewan. Scott Moe and Carla Beck will face off over the issues at hand in the upcoming provincial election. But what is a true debate? We caught up with members of the Saskatchewan Elocution and Debate Association and grabbed some tips for both of the leaders on how to win.
Hi and welcome, respected judges, worthy opponents.
Good morning or evening, respected judges, opponents, and spectators.
Good morning, respected judges, adjudicators.
Me, as proposition side, will be arguing the motion this House believes.
As the proposition or opposition, this House believes.
Today I'll be representing the proposition side, and this House believes.
Debate is fun because it allows you to argue, but in a way that is respectful, and allows you to get the perspective of different sides on various kinds of topics.
Opposition. I kind of think that the proposition has misconstrued the primary basis of recess. Basically, there's two types of debate that CETA focuses on most in Saskatchewan. It's national style and British parliamentary. So British parliamentary is, as opposed to having two groups of two facing off each other, there's two sides still, but there's two teams on each side, so it's like 4 teams that are involved.
At the start, we usually delve into speaker roles, what each speaker is going to be doing during the debate.
Also deciding what speaker you prefer to speak with, because some people are better at speaker 1 per se than speaker 2. We just kind of see like what the motion is and who's more comfortable speaking about what topics, and that would decide what speakers we are.
Definitely very difficult. I think you kind of have to separate yourself from your own belief system. I think you have to practice a lot of compassion and kind of put yourself in the shoes of that other side. And I think it's a really good exercise in interacting with the larger society.
A big part of debate is arguing something that you don't believe in, which forces you to consider the other perspective. So when you go into the real world, you are forced to think about the other person's perspective in cases. And I think that's really important because you have to be sympathetic to some people, especially for their beliefs.
How would you prepare for a premier's debate?
I think I would do it much in the same fashion that I prepare for normal debates. I mean, I think the politicians are kind of briefed and have an understanding of the main topics that are going to come up in the debate. I don't think it's a huge surprise to anyone. So I think I just really ensure that I have the research and the, the information to back up my stance and my policies and my platform.
I think I would try to think of, if I was that other person, what would I mainly want to highlight and what things do I think I bring to the table, and then try to either counter with that or see why would I be a better candidate. maybe also looking at, like, again, the status quo, like what's currently happening in our province.
I would first of all look into their major campaign, and I would try to research more into their policies, how they're trying to implement them, what factors they're going to be looking at, how it's going to be affecting the population. And I think considering all of those things would give me a strong sense of how I will be countering as well as presenting my own case, because you want to strengthen it based off of your opponent's weaknesses.
I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow at 6:05. In other news, a rare comet is passing by Earth over the next few weeks. That's comet Chu-Shin-Shan Atlas. It made what will be its closest approach to our planet last weekend. If the clouds part just right, you'll be able to see it nightly across the northern hemisphere until the end of the month. Though each night it'll be more faint as it moves further from Earth. The comet was first discovered last year on its approach, and it won't be seen again around these parts for another 80,000 years.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Our greatest auto sale is on now.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. Is the wind blowing the comet further away?
Well, it felt like it at times because we sure had some pretty strong gusts a little earlier today, upwards of 60 kilometers an hour in parts of the province. Those now starting to subside, and in fact later this afternoon we've seen that move a bit into Manitoba, is where those kind of strongest gusts have been, and even some calmer conditions out to the west of us. Now those strong winds have been joined by some pretty warm temperatures, and especially into south central and southwestern areas today we got, in some cases where you see the numbers in pink here, 10 degrees or thereabout above seasonal for this time of year. But it wasn't only southern Saskatchewan seeing the heat. The north of the province, another day above 10 degrees means that many locations have surpassed the average number of days that you get above 10 degrees in the month of October. A whopping 13 days so far in La Ronge, where you normally see 9 in the entire month. And the warmth going to continue because of this broad ridge in the jet stream here. That's going to continue to move eastward as we head into tomorrow, bringing us another warm day. Things breaking down a little bit here as we get into Thursday, Friday, but then kind of a more straight west-east flow to the jet stream means a return to some nicer temperatures heading through the rest of the work week. Now, that little breakdown in the temperatures that we're going to be seeing is the result of a system that's going to start moving in tonight, especially through parts of northern Saskatchewan. Some showers developing in western sections of the Churchill region. That changes over to kind of a full expanse of rain through that region heading into tomorrow afternoon. High pressure will keep south and central clear, but then as we get into tomorrow evening, that system then begins to move into far northern Saskatchewan. We'll then watch this cold front, which is going to move in kind of later into tomorrow night and early into Thursday, which could bring some showers to Regina and parts of southeastern Saskatchewan on Thursday. Before that begins to move away and some cooler temperatures on the other side of this. This system could change over to snow at times into far northern Saskatchewan as we get to the first part of the weekend, and then things start to clear away from there. Rain-wise, I think probably for the Churchill region, it's anywhere between 5 to 10 millimeters. By the time all is said and done in the far north, we could see some amounts maybe closer to 15 as we get to the end of the work week here. Winds picking up a little bit tomorrow as this system starts to move in, but especially Thursday and Friday, I think that's when we'll start to see those gusts pick up just a little bit more. You'll see the 7-day forecast here is kind of marked by wind on almost every day that you see. So again, Thursday, Regina, we might catch a little bit of some shower activity, but I'm leaving it mostly cloudy just for now. Nice temperatures for the weekend before we take a bit of a nosedive heading into next week. Saskatoon, pleasant day tomorrow, couple of windy days Thursday, Friday. Temperatures, again, we'll see that increasing cloudiness and temperatures dropping a little bit into next week. And yes, that is the possibility of some snow, Sam, come later next week.
The gasp with those snowflakes.
You're welcome.
Well, the second annual Saskatchewan Indigenous Music Awards were held on Saturday in Prince Albert at the E.A. Rawlinson Centre. 14 awards were handed out to honor and celebrate the remarkable talent within the Indigenous music community. Prince Albert's Rebecca Strong was presented the Willard Ahenakew Award. It's a Lifetime Achievement Award. The 21-year-old Dene Sulene singer won Canada's Got Talent back in May, taking home a $1 million prize. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. If you haven't spent all your money on Oasis tickets for next year's tour, maybe you've got some money left for band memorabilia. Prop Store is putting 15 guitars up for auction that used to be owned and played by Noel Gallagher. The auction house says it's the biggest collection of Oasis guitars ever to be sold off this way. There are also some items from Michael Jackson that are up for grabs, including the red jacket from the Thriller tour, which is expected to go for upward of $700,000. It's signed by Michael Jackson and John Landis, who directed the iconic music video. The 4-day auction will begin on November 15th. Are you going to buy yourself a Thriller jacket, Ethan?
Well, what are the odds they're going to drop the price? I don't think very good, right?
No, not at all.
No, well,
Tell me about the weather.
Yeah,
Let's do that.
I'll just stick to my day job for now. Yeah, we're talking about, well, nice weather at least. I get to tell you about 10 degrees at midnight under partly cloudy skies. We'll get some clearing by morning in Regina. I think we'll see mainly sunny conditions. Those southeast winds going to pick up a little bit. Again, it's more southerly flow to the wind, so we get that nice warm air moving in, and that'll bump us up to nearly 20 degrees already by the noon hour. For Saskatoon, I think we're still looking at some cloud cover overnight tonight, temperature of 7 degrees, and into tomorrow morning, a mix of sun and cloud. Wind's going to be lighter in Saskatoon, I think, tomorrow, and by the time we get to the afternoon, I think we're still looking at a sun-cloud mix, a little cooler than Regina and the rest of southern Saskatchewan, Sam, but the snow, it's a ways down the road still.
Like 5 days.
Long time.
Okay, thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
And before we go tonight, when you visit Washington, you could go visit the White House or you could go see pandas. This is Bo Lee, one of 2 giant pandas on their way to Washington this morning, along with Qingbo. They are the first pandas that China has sent to Washington in 24 years. They will live at the Smithsonian National Zoo, and zookeepers say the crates are built to allow for bamboo to be passed through to the pandas through the bars to make sure they will be well fed and comfy through their long flight. Oh, they're cute. That is it for us tonight. For more on the provincial election campaign, head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to join us for the Leaders Debate tomorrow night here on CBC. Thanks for watching. Have a great night. Oh.